What's up, y'all? Welcome to another edition of Digging in the Crates, and I'm your host, Lamont Floyd. Now, if you don't know what Digging in the Crates is, Digging in the Crates is a show that I created to help shed some light on some albums that I feel should have gotten the light. Maybe they didn't get the fanfare they deserved when they came out, or maybe they did and it was just an oldie and people forgot about it, or maybe it was an album I just wanted to present to you because I wanted to do a deep dive on it. I thought it was a great album, whatever. Right? That's what Digging in the Crates is. And today, I want to talk about the album Here My Dear by Marvin Gaye. When I was first introduced to this album by Marvin Gaye, the date was March 31st, 1984. The day is significant, and I'll explain to you why. On that day, my father and I went to a store called Newberry's in Los Angeles. And those of you who've been around for a while, if you know about Newberry's, you know Newberry's was sort of like the local Walmart back then, right? Before there was Walmart, there was Newberry's. And they had this bargain bin of 8-track tapes. They were all $1 back then. And my father loved Marvin Gaye. And I was digging through this bin of 8-track tapes and I found the Hear My Dear Marvin Gaye 8-track. And my father didn't have this album. And I said, Dad, they got Marvin Gaye. And so he bought it. You know, I was so happy I found this hidden gem for my father. Now, let's fast forward to the very next day, April 1st, 1984. That day, me and my dad's girlfriend, her name was Vicky at the time, we went to a grocery store called ABC Market. I believe it's on Western in LA. If I'm wrong, write it in the comments. But so yeah, we went to ABC Market, and before we got out the car, I remember the radio host saying, there's this breaking news that Marvin Gaye was shot and killed by his father. And it wasn't an April Fool's joke. And it was April 1st, you know. So they were playing the music on the radio. And I remember when I got home, I told my dad, and he couldn't believe it. He thought it was April Fool's joke. And I told him, no, Dad. And he turned on the radio and he found out for himself. So Hear My Dear, you may have heard the story about Hear My Dear. You know, it's widely reported that Marvin Gaye was pretty much broke at the time when he was divorcing Anna Gordy. And if you don't know who Anna Gordy is, this is the older sister to the Motown founder, Berry Gordy. Marvin Gaye was married to his older sister. And when he was divorcing her, he gave her some money. But at the same time, the judge allowed Marvin Gaye to go into the studio, record an album, and she would recoup some royalties to help pay for this divorce settlement. So that's kind of the glossy version of the story. And that's what you see on the internet. And that's what everybody talks about. But no one goes and does a deep dive into the lyrics of the album, because the lyrics is really what tells a story between Anna and Marvin. Now, I used to think Kendrick was petty, the way he dragged Drake through that beef. But man, you want to talk about Petty Murphy, Petty Pendergrass? We're talking about none other than Marvin Gaye. He was super petty. At first, he wanted to go in and just do a poopity scoop album, you know, just put some bullshit out there and here you go, Anna, here's your settlement. But his artist integrity wouldn't let him do that. And he went in there, and when the album came out, it wasn't well received, but he crafted what I feel is a masterpiece. There's been a lot of other artists to go on and emulate it, and one was Tyrese. And I just did a no skips episode on Tyrese's Beautiful Pain. You'll be able to watch that also on my channel. But his inspiration was Hear My Dear by Marvin Gaye, where Marvin Gaye chronicles a lot of the painful things that he experienced in his marriage. And not all painful. There were some beautiful times as well, some love making and things of that nature. But he put it all in this record, and it's called Hear My Dear. And I'm going to be petty while doing it. In this video, I want to break down the lyrics and the story behind this messy divorce. I want to explore how both Marvin and Anna may be feeling both before and after the divorce. And I want to talk about the other women and children in this marriage that may have been the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. But before we get into it, I want to ask you guys to do me a favor. If you can, please subscribe and like the video. By subscribing and like the video, it puts the video out there and it gets some traction in the algorithm and it's shown to more people. But at the same time, it encourages me to create more dope content like this. So before I get started with breaking down the lyrics, I want to preface this. Not all the songs on this album is about Anna. There are some beautiful songs on here. Sparrow, Everyone Needs Love, Anger, Funky Space, Reincarnation. These songs were written by Marvin and someone else. Okay. Now, all the songs that are about Anna were written solely by Marvin Gaye. So let me say that up front. Okay. So the first song I really want to get into is the beginning song, how the album starts off. The intro is called Here, My Dear. And he starts it off by saying, I guess I'll have to say this album is dedicated to you. So, I mean, that's the first words he says as soon as the album starts off, letting Anna know this album is dedicated to you. He says, although perhaps I may not be happy, this is what you want. So I've conceded. I hope it makes you happy. There's a lot of truth in it, babe. I want you to think about what Marvin is doing here. He's not only telling her this album is about you, he says, but this is what you wanted. And I may not be happy giving it to you, but this is what you want. And I've conceded. I hope it makes you happy. And there's a lot of truth in it. If I'm Anna Gordy, and this is the first thing I'm hearing as soon as the album is coming on, I may be concerned. He says, I hope it makes you happy. I don't think I'll have any regrets, baby. But things didn't have to be the way they was. Now, this is the pettiness. He knows this divorce is not making her happy. He knows all the things that's going on in the relationship is not making her happy. And Marvin himself, he has said out of his own mouth, he's a self-sabotager. And he torments people on purpose just to get a reaction out of them. He's been doing it since he was a kid. He doesn't know why he's like that. He's a troubled man, right? He doesn't know why he does these things. I have some ideas that I want to touch on later why he does these things. And some of the other lyrics in this song here, my dear, he says, you don't have the right to use the son of mine to keep me in line. One thing I can't do without is the boy whom God gave to both of us. I'm so happy. For the son of mine. Let's talk about this son of his. Dr. Michael Eric Dyson wrote a book on Marvin Gaye, and in the book he alleges that this son who was born to Anna Gordy's niece, who had the baby when she was 16, was fathered by none other than Marvin Gaye. Now, if that's the case, that means the girl was either 15 or 16 when she conceived this child. I don't know if it's true or not, but let's just say for the sake of it, it is true. And here it is. You don't have to use a son of mine to keep me in line. One thing I can't do without is the boy whom God gave to both of us. Marvin and Anna adopted this child, and I think it was done to keep things quiet, because if the word got out about Marvin fathering a child with this underage girl, it could be devastating to his career. Keep in mind, he was the Prince of Motown. Keep in mind, he was the goose that was continuing to lay the golden eggs, not only for Motown, but for Anna as well. Even though Anna had her own record label before Motown was ever established. Anna was 17 years older than Marvin. And so when he met her, she was 37 and he was 20. Let that sit in for a moment. He was 20. His brain wasn't even fully developed. And we're going to dive deeper into that as well. But he says, the boy who God gave the both of us. If that's not a backhand slap, telling this woman, I had a baby with your niece, a baby that you couldn't conceive because you was too old, and you have a right to keep a son of mine that God gave the both of us, and you use it to hurt me. Marvin, he knows what buttons to push to get to Anna emotionally. So he says, so here it is, babe. I hope you enjoy. Reminisce. Be happy. Think about the kisses and the joy. And there were those other moments too. What are those other moments? He said at times they were gray and cloudy, bad. What were these bad moments? Don't know, right? But you taught me that was life. May love ever possess you. May peace come into your life. Always think of me the way I was. I was your baby. This is what you wanted. So here it is, my dear. Man, that's how he starts the album off, being petty, saying I was your baby. Now, all this sounds crazy. It sounds normal if you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. By this time, Marvin Gaye had been dating or messing around with Janice, who would later become his second wife. And by the time Anna filed for divorce, Marvin had 2 kids with Janice. Not only did he have a child with her niece, but now he has 2 children with Janice. The first was Nona Gaye. You might have seen her in The Matrix and some other movies. And she looked just like her father. Beautiful girl. And his other son, Frankie. So, who he named after his brother. The next song, it goes right into I Met a Little Girl. And what I love about I Met a Little Girl is this song chronicles how he got married. And it chronicles that marriage, that 16-year period. He says, I met a little girl, sure was fine. And there's other people in Motown who can attest to how fine Anna Gordy was, especially back then. Says, I met a little girl, sure was fine. Pretty little thing, just about blew my mind. She took me home and made love to me. I knew right then and there, this is where I wanted to be. Listen, he's 20 years old. She's 37. She's experienced in the record industry. He's signed to Motown, and he started off just playing session drums behind Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, right? And so, but Marvin was handsome, well-spoken, had a silky voice. All of the women in Motown had their eye on Marvin, but so did Anna Gordy. And she said that Marvin would come to her office every day at a certain time and just talk to her for a little bit. And one day he just didn't show up. And then he stuck his head in. He said, did you miss me? And then she said, yeah. And I guess, they established that bond or what have you. And I know age is nothing but a number, but when someone is 37 and has this world experience, Anna Gordy she didn't always grow up in Detroit. She had moved to California, got into the record industry, and came back to help her brother establish Motown and things of that nature. So think about what Marvin's thinking. I'm 20 years old. This fine girl, she got probably a nice crib, nice car. She's well-spoken. She's fine. And she's the boss's sister. When I need to get in Studio A, I don't have to wait in line. I don't have to wait behind Smokey no more. I don't have to wait behind the Temptations and Diana Ross, the Marvelettes, and all them other groups. I got the head of the line privilege because I'm dating Anna Gordy. I want you to think about that. I'm not saying that Marvin got with her to use her. I'm pretty sure he was enamored by, just this older woman. But at the same time, it was also a benefit by being with her. And she get this handsome hunk of a man that was fresh, Also, I like to think that Marvin got with her because of some of his need for nurturing. Anna reminded him of his mother. And, if you know anything about the dynamics between Marvin and his family, Marvin's father was this preacher, kind of like this Pentecostal preacher. I don't think he was strictly Pentecostal, but you can imagine one of those very active churches. And his father was mean. And he called his father, father, and called his mother, mother. And he wasn't just mean to Marvin. He was mean to all the kids. They knew not to get on the bad side of father. And it was Marvin's mother who would come to his defense. His father didn't like Marvin singing secular music. He thought he was supposed to be singing for the Lord. And it was his mother who said, son, do your thing. You're going to be famous one day. Continue to pursue your dream, just like a good mother would. So I feel Marvin found a little bit of this motherly instinct attached to Anna. And that's one of the reasons he was so enamored by her. He says in the same song, most of my life I've been all alone. He says, and you're so sweet to me. Didn't think I'll ever roam. And then one day, as time will pass, I had this feeling that our love would last. Nothing could go wrong. It seemed everything I did seemed to please you, all the heartaches you hid. What were the heartaches that Anna were hiding? I don't know. She's 37. I'm pretty sure there's probably been a lot of men who's used her, abused her, things of that nature. Keep in mind, this is the early 60s. He met her in 1960 or 59. I think it was Christmas time around 1959 and close to 1960. And they got married in 64. He says, then one night after we made love and we were through, that's when I decided I wanted to marry you. And then he goes off into the wedding vows. Do you take this woman to be your lawful wedded wife, to love, hold, cherish for the rest of your life? He says, I do. Yes, I do. I do, darling, because I love you. And then he says, 1964, right? So that's when they got married. So there was a good 4-year period, courtship period. And a lot of people kind of looked at Marvin skeptically. They liked Anna. They thought Anna was fine too, but they thought that maybe he was using her and she was possibly using him. Maybe some of the women said, what is he doing with her, that older woman, who knows? And he says, after he says 1964, once you really loved me and I really loved you. I think in most relationships, when you first get with somebody, that honeymoon phase is there and you guys are best friends and you haven't really been through anything yet. And think about it. Marvin's 20 years old. And by the time he's married, he's 24. He's brain still developing. He doesn't know much about life yet. He doesn't know what it is he really, really wants in a woman. He just knows that he found a woman that's probably nurturing, good for his career, fine, and it seemed like a good fit for him. Then it fast forwards to 1976. He says, then time would change you. As time would really change me. We thought our love would stand the test of time. And as I sing this song right now, I wonder today if you're a friend of mine. He says, I wonder if you're a friend of mine. Cry, cry, cry. I've done some crying. Woman, you have caused my tears to flow. He says, do you cry about me? Do you think about me? Hallelujah, I'm free. Hallelujah, I'm free. Hallelujah, I'm free. Even though they met in 1960, got married in 64, it skips to 76 when things start to fall apart. And really, he says things really started to drift apart in 1970, where they started staying in separate rooms. Even though they were in the same house, they were in separate rooms. And maybe some of the issues that Anna had, and I know she herself said that she can feel the change in the power dynamics. When she first got with him, she was always with Marvin when he would go tour and stuff, but she stand off to the side. And as Marvin, starting to rack up some of these hits and get real popular, especially with the women, his power started to grow. His confidence started to grow. He started to get older. And Anna also got older and she started to feel insecure because of her age, right? And, around 67-ish, somewhere around there, I think Marvin starts to experiment with cocaine and drugs. I think he always smoked weed, he said, but it's around 67, he started to do cocaine. And around that same time, he had some of the hits like Heard It Through the Grapevine. And then he started working with Tammy Terrell and things of that nature. And even though, there's never been any confirmation that they had a sexual relationship, Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell, that is, there was some skepticism there about how platonic that relationship was. And with Janice, his second wife, said that Marvin really loved Tammy Terrell. I believe Marvin could be himself with Janice. I believe he could tell the truth to Janice. I don't know if he really could with Anna, but Anna was very jealous of Tammy Terrell. She saw young, beautiful women. Remember, Tammy Terrell died when she was 24, and they had those hits when she was in her young 20s. Marvin at this age should probably be in his late 20s. And around 1970, I believe Tammy Terrell died. She collapsed in his arms while they were performing at a college in Virginia. And Marvin took a 3-year hiatus and he didn't record for a while. And I think that the deep depression really scarred him. And I think that's why he started using a lot of drugs. Marvin always would work out, go running and stuff like that. I think that's where the disconnect happened with Anna Gordy, him and Anna Gordy. But it's funny, whatever, I think he felt responsible. He didn't want to be with Anna, but he had got with her and was with her for so long. And she's the boss's sister. So to leave Anna probably wouldn't have been a good move. But he says, now that this divorce is going on, he says, hallelujah, I'm free. Hallelujah, I'm free. Now, if I'm Anna Gordy and I'm hearing this, I don't know how I would feel. I would probably be hurt. I'll be mad. She did. I will say this. She said when the album came out, before it came out, Marvin let her go to the studio and let one of his engineers play it for her. And she threatened to sue him for invasion of privacy. She never did. But later in an interview, I saw her say when she first heard the album, it really hurt her. But she said this is her favorite album of his. And righteously so, especially if you're getting paid off of it. You know what I mean? It would be my favorite album too if I was getting paid. But I think the fact that he talks about their relationship in this album, and you will see he had promised to write a song for her, and we'll talk about that too. A lot of times Marvin would leave court and go to the studio and release his pain and anger in the studio. And the next song, When Did You Stop Loving Me? When Did I Stop Loving You? I think is one of those songs when he did that. I think he came from the studio after a battle in court and he just started releasing his thoughts and his pain into the music. When you listen to this album, it's not like the other albums. The other albums are very polished. This album seemed a little bit rushed. It's not as polished. And I think he needed to hurry up and get it out there because, he needed to get get Anna that money. So let me jump into this song. When did you stop loving me? He says, you know, when you say your marriage vows, you're supposed to be for real. I mean, if you think back about what you really said, you know, about honor and loving and obeying until death do us part and all, but it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be lies, because it turns out to be lies. If you don't honor what you said, you lied to God. Now, he's saying this, he's saying she's lying on him in court. You know, he says, if you don't honor what you said, you lied to God. Now he says, now I recall, we tried a million times, again and again and again. And that isn't all. I gave my love to you each time to make amends. Suddenly I start to realize I can't make it. He says, pretty birds fly away. I had to leave you for my health's sake, for his health's sake. In another song, he says she bullied him. She would put him down. You know, I don't know what that dynamic was, but remember, I'm giving you this from Marvin's perspective. There's always her side of the story, his side of the story, and the truth, right? But Marvin is saying he had to leave her for his health's sake. Is his mental health's sake? Who knows? What to do? Make you pay for leaving you? My fine is to pay forever. So if a fresh new love comes in, I won't say those words again. So he's telling you, when a new love comes in, he's never going to tell a girl he love her again, right? He's jaded, right? He says, I'll never you say those words again. Instead, I'll say, I'll try to love and protect you with all my heart as long as you want me, baby. And if I love again, I'm going to try a new way this time. Memories of the things we did, some we're proud of, some we hid. What is it they hid? Right? And I wonder, is it the child, this love child he had with the niece? Is it the other men that Anna Gordy was alleged to have slept around with? Is it some of their sex capades? Because according to Janice, they would do swinger parties and things of that nature. And before there was Diddy, there was Marvin Gaye. He was a voyeur. He loved to watch Anna have sex with other men. Now, I don't know how many other men there was. There's been times where he's tried to catch Janice having sex with Frankie Beverly from Maze, which she admits that she actually did. Marvin didn't catch it, but Marvin tried to set that up so that he could catch it. And she also admitted to having sex with Teddy Pendergrass. And I think that really hurt Marvin because that was his competition. He says, so when two people have, I'm back into the lyrics now. He says, so when two people have to part sometimes, it makes them stronger. Do you remember all the bullshit, baby? You say you love me with all your heart. You even love me with all your heart. You never take $1 million to part. So if you love me with all my heart, you never take $1 million to part. Now let's look at this. So $1 million in 1976 is equivalent to 5.76 million in today's economy. So that's what the divorce settlement was. That's what she was asking for in court, right? He goes, although we tried, all those promises were nothing but lies. I really tried. You know how I really tried? We really lied, didn't we, baby? And on top of that, you have scandalized my name. What I can't understand is, if you love me, how could you turn me into the police? She turned him in because he wasn't paying alimony, wasn't paying child support or any of that. So he says, if you love me, how could you do that to me? This is a cold song. It's a long song. I don't want to read all of it. He says, you got judgment on your side. You said bad things on me and you lied. Still, I remember some of the good things, baby, like love after dark, picnics in the park. Those are the days I'll not forget in my life. I rather remember joy we shared, baby. I rather remember all the fun we had. All I ever really wanted was love. Was to love you and treat you right. All we did was fuss and fight. It don't matter, baby. Take a lesson from them all. I never thought I'd see the day when you put me through what you put me through. When did you stop loving me? When did I stop loving you? And it repeats over and over. Such a sad song. This album is really a testament to what people go through divorce. There's a lot of emotion tied there. And at this time, Marvin's no longer 20 years old. Marvin's around 37, 38. He's matured a lot and he's changed a lot since he was 20, right? Is it enough? And this song is a cold one. is that enough? He's asking, baby, is this enough money? He says, whoa, I was a fool from the start, fooling around with my mind instead of my heart. I was young and fine and you plucked me clean. Here Marvin's playing the victim, right? He says, fooling around with my head instead of my heart. I was young and you plucked me clean. Now, Marvin said she took him home, remember, and made love to him. And he said he knew from right then that's where he wanted to be. So now he's playing the victim. He says, you knew what you were doing, right? But it gets even better. He says, oh, you know, you had a brother who thought he was cool. What? You had a brother who thought he was cool. Even Barry Gordy caught a stray, y'all. He says, but really, I was a dumb fool. You said you never go away and stand beside me night and day. Love. You said you would love and obey. Well, you said you should. Well, you should. It can only get you good. I was a dumb little fool. So basically, he's saying that Anna and Barry were in cahoots to control him, to control. And in some ways, this may be true because Marvin was a very stubborn person. Hence the song Stubborn Kind of Fella and stuff like that. A lot of people don't know this. When Marvin first came out, his first album wasn't a hit. It was a song of standards. It kind of sounded like Nat King Cole or Frank Sinatra or something like that. He was a crooner. And that's the kind of music he wanted to make. Motown was a feel-good pop label. It wasn't about protest music yet. It was none of that. Motown was trying to, they wanted to fit in. It was a tumultuous time in the country, right? And they knew they couldn't cross certain lines without some type of repercussion. So Barry Gordy played it safe. And I do believe there may have been some type of manipulation there, not only for Motown's sake, but also for Marvin's sake, because he is, like I said, he is a great self-sabotager. And he would torment people just to get a reaction from them. Always been that way. So if you might say, okay, well, Anna, he's not acting right. Do what you need to do to get him right, right? And so I can see that taking place in that relationship. He says, but I'll never get enough of that funky stuff. Funky stuff. We know what funky stuff is, right? So he couldn't get enough of that funky stuff. So was she manipulating him with the box? Who knows? But this is what he's saying. He says, I'm going to jump back in up to my neck again. You always knew that I wasn't that kind of guy. All the times I thought you knew that I was busy loving you. What was you afraid to lose? Everybody got to choose. I don't know if I'm going to get a yay or nay, or if I'm going to do what his honor says. She was too possessive and jealous, too possessive and jealous. And he repeats this a number of times. She was too possessive and jealous. Remember, we talking about she's jealous of younger women and she's very possessive. Let me tell you something. Anna Gordy's brother may be Barry Gordy, but that don't mean she was getting a lot of the fruits from Motown. She was getting the fruits from Marvin. And who wouldn't? She's married to the #1 R&B singer in the country. That has to feel good to be on the arms of this man and to feel like you were the kickstand that propped him up, to feel like you were the one responsible for some of his success. So yes, I would, if I was Anna Gordy, I may feel like I was entitled to a portion of his income as well, right? Through the divorce. He says, I know you, and I know that you just love that expensive stuff. You got a flair for style, and the style is all the while. What can I do? The judge said she got to keep on living the way she's accustomed to. She's trying to break a man. I don't understand. Somebody please tell me. Tell me, please. Why do I have to pay attorney fees? My baby's attorney's fees. This is a joke. I need to smoke. Wait a minute. And that's how the song goes off. Again, this is one of them songs. He's coming from court and he's venting his frustration. Marvin doesn't think he needs to give her any money but that's up to the courts to decide, right? Then the next song, Time to Get It Together. It's a testimonial. And this is Marvin being honest with himself. I'm not going to go through all of it, but there's one particular part in here that I think is important. He says, I've been racing against time, trying my best to find my way, change our world in just one day, blowing coke all up my nose, getting in and out of my clothes, fooling around with midnight hoes. But that chapter of my life is closed. He gives us an inside look to what he's dealing with. Multiple women, partying, let's look at some of the people Marvin used to party with. He used to party with George Clinton Funkadelic. He used to party with Richard Pryor, party with Smokey Robinson, of course. And back in this time, a lot of people were doing drugs. Orgies were taking place, So, this was the lifestyle Marvin is in, especially while going through the divorce, right? From 76 to 78. Within that time frame, that's when he had the 2 kids with Janice. He's going through the divorce with Anna, and his life, he's going through a lot of turmoil. One of the prettier songs on there is a song called Sparrow that I love. He's talking about the sparrow who's lost its ability to sing. And I don't know if it's self-reflective on himself, because there's times when Marvin would go through these bouts of depression because he had this tormented childhood. And there would be times where he didn't feel like singing. And I wonder if the sparrow is really symbolic of him not singing. So the next song, Anna's song. He had promised Anna that he would sing her a song one day, right? And being King Petty, here it is. He says, "This is Anna's song." And he says, "And I'm making love all night long." He said, "Take a bath in milk and lay on your satin sheets, laughing, smiling, lay a while in chocolate mint candy sweets. They're only across the way." He says, living across the way. Remember, they were in separate rooms, right? He said, "This is Anna's song. This is Anna's song." He says, "And I'm keep singing it all night long." He says, "Work so hard, see me make dollars. I know I should for my own good. What's a husband make you so stubborn? And oh, did you notice the snow started to fall? Come sit a while. Just listen to the children laughing and running wild." He's telling these stories about how he's supposed to be making money to support his family, but he wouldn't because he's so stubborn. He refused to go on tour after the Let's Get It On album and the I Want You album because he knew Anna was going to try to divorce him and he didn't want to give her no more money, right? So instead of going out and promoting the albums and stuff like that, he'd rather sit around and chill and get the divorce and then go make the money, right? I mean, this is the way Marvin was thinking at the time. He says, "Yeah, now this is Anna's song." He says, "Hey, baby, loving you all night long. Let it happen again and again and again, baby, and again. She's a child of the sun, the loveliest one of all. This is Anna's song." He says, "Keep on loving me, baby, loving me across the hall. She can do no wrong, 'cause this is Anna's song. Laugh and shed a tear. Kiss me, Anna dear." And he says, "This is the one that I promised, baby, promised you all along. Baby, I knew all the time I'd find the rhyme. Never have a fear. Here it is, my dear." So he probably promised her, "I'm going to write a song for you. I just can't find it yet." And he says, "I finally found it. Here it is." And he paints an empty relationship. It's lonely, but passionate sexually. Keep in mind, he says, here you are across the hall and they're making love all night long. He's not happy in the relationship, but he's happy to still bone her. Whatever it is, that sexual tie is still there to Anna. Keep in mind, he is living in another apartment with Janice and his other kids. And he's still sleeping with Anna occasionally, right? And he says, "You were my wife." So I guess he feels like she's obligated or it's okay for him to still have sex with her, right? And that can cause some sticky situations, especially when you're trying to separate from someone. When it's not a clean cut like that, feelings are still involved. And I feel like emotionally and mentally, he was torn between the 2 women. Even though he wanted to be free from Anna, keep in mind, that's all he knew for most of his life. I mean, if they met in December of 59 and it's 1978 when the divorce was finalized. So he's recording it between 76. I mean, man, you're looking at 16, 17, 18 years of a person's life. That's more than half his life. So there's a certain love and affection and connection that he still has with Anna, but he knows he wants to be free from that. And he wants to experience something new out here. There's some ambiguous feelings that Marvin's feeling while recording this album. The next song, he says, "You can leave, but it's going to cost you." He says, "I remember it like it was yesterday. We were over at Gwen's." So I guess that was one of their friends. He says, and we were trying one more time to make amends. Suddenly it occurred to me, it did not matter whether I was mad at her or she was mad at me. Ah, babe, understanding my condition, I must surely be wishing and hoping to be free. Again, he's still talking about being free, free from Anna, but he's still trying to make amends. This sounds like a person confused. Is it the nurturing that he found with Anna that he loved? Because when he met Jan, she was 17 and he was 34. It was like a total flip. 17-year difference between Anna and Marvin, and then a 17-year difference going the opposite direction between Marvin and Janice. So what is it that Janice had to offer that Anna didn't have to offer? Maybe Janice wasn't the hovering mother type. I don't know. But there was something about Janice besides her beauty that he really dug and appreciated with her. He says, oh, but some say you can leave, but it's going to cost you. She said, yeah, you can leave, but it's going to cost you. Yeah, you can leave, but it's going to cost you. He says, sometimes your eyes was red as fire, intoxicated. Sometimes your spirit was moving on me, began to fight me. I had to fight to defend my life. I didn't mind it. See, I find it a bit stimulating. Remember, I told you he would aggravate you just to get a reaction from you. He got stimulated from it because he knew after the fight between him and Anna, they would be making love again. He says, and after the fighting, we're making love. I mean, it's so dysfunctional. You start a fight just so that you can make love. But, that is the pattern that Marvin is in. And that is the reason why Marvin's life is so chaotic. He says, because after all, you was my wife. So again, he's talking about, it's okay. We argue, fight, make love. He said, because you're my wife. Again, there's a sense of ownership over Anna. Even though he's doing all this shit out here, sleeping with other women and doing drugs and creating other babies. And she, allegedly, she was sleeping with other men as well. But he feels she's still his wife, right? He says, hey, you can leave, but it's going to cost you. She said, you can leave, but it's going to cost you. She said, you can leave, but you're going to cost you. That young girl is going to cost you, baby. Well, that young girl was Janice, or Jan for short. And one day when Marvin was going to pick up his son from Anna's house, and he had Jan in the car, and Anna saw Jan in the car, she came out and knocked on the window, click, 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 and asked her to roll it down. And Jan rolled it down just a little bit. She wasn't dumb. And she said, I just wanted to see the tramp he's, basically sleeping with. And she went back and she told Marvin, don't ever bring her to this house again, pretty much. So Marvin was wild. Again, probably to get some stimulation out of her. She goes, that young girl is going to cost you. If you want happiness, you got to pay. Baby, he says, you used to be the apple of my eye. I come to you. I was a fool. He says, I come to you, baby. I come to you. But he says, I'm gone. Get used to it, baby. I'm gone. Get used to it. You tried to have them shackle me. Probably the police, right? You tried to have them shackle me. Bring me in. Tell me what for. So I satisfy you? You have won the battle. Oh, but daddy's gonna win the war. But mommy's worked so hard trying to take my riches, tried to take my child too, trying to upset my woman, sell my soul. But I was strong, baby, stood my ground and prayed. Asked the Lord to help me. He says, you used to say I was a gorgeous hunk of man, but that didn't help me when you was on the stand, running my name through the mud. And I think it's funny Marvin plays the victim when he's not really taking accountability for the things he's doing himself in this relationship. In the same song, he said she would try to bully him, put him down. So again, and this is probably another one of them songs that he wrote after court, And then the last song I kind of want to cover, I know I'm going a little bit longer, but it's important to understand where Marvin is at in this album so that when you listen to it, you'll understand the story behind the lyrics. And the song is called Falling in Love Again. Petty Pendergrass strikes again. Not only did he talk about his relationship so far, about Anna and all the things they've been through, the infidelities and things of that nature, but he wants to bring his new relationship in. The same girl Anna told him not to bring around here anymore, right? And the song is called Falling in Love Again. He says, in this life of happiness and sadness, when you've lost out on love, and it ends up in madness, and you say, love, please go away and don't torture me night and day, then something's real. Something who feel comes in. Now I'm falling in love again. I found somebody who says she loves me. I'm falling in love again. Oh, darling, once again, hey, baby. And then this is where he really sticks the knife in and turns it. He says, she's pretty outside and in. She's wonderful. I tried not to let my heart step in, but what to do, baby? What could I do when somebody real comes in? Someone you feel comes in. And I'm falling in love again. I found somebody who says she loves me. I'm falling in love again. A beautiful woman. She says she loves me. Oh, I think I'm falling in love again. So let's have our talks and whisper. I love you. I love you, baby. I love you. Let's live. Regret it. Let's live. Not regret it. And he says this over and over and over. If I'm Anna Gordy, and this is the album that I'm supposed to get my money off of, right? So the deal was with all of this, Anna went to court and her lawyers asked for $1 million, and Marvin didn't have $1 million. Marvin had spent a lot of his money on homes, on cars, on real estate and things of that nature. And you will see, look on the album cover, when you open it up, on the inside, you see one hand giving the record. That's Marvin's hand. And on that side, he has recording equipment. And on the other side, there's a woman's hand taking it. And on that side, you got houses, boats, cars, luxury items, jewelry, all that stuff. And he's saying, here, my dear, here's the money. Here's the record. This is all I have is this art. And so Marvin's lawyers countered with the $1 million request or what have you. And they said, well, how about 600,000? He says, we can give you the advance on the next album, which was 300,000. And then we'll give you the royalties from the next few albums, right? So there was Here, My Dear. And then there was whatever he'd make on any recordings after that until she's paid whatever that settlement was. And so that was the deal. So that's why the album's called Here, My Dear. Here you go, right? I want you to think, if you were Anna Gordy in this case, how would you feel hearing him talk about a new love, talking about how young and beautiful she was? He knows these are the things that will trigger this woman. Again, being petty, but I guess speaking his truth, right? Although this album is unpolished, and maybe because of its immediacy, I believe he wanted to hurry up and get it out there. This album, when it first came out, like I said, it didn't come out to big reviews and fanfare. People trashed it. Because if you look at the albums before, you had What's Going On, heralded as a classic protest album, changed the sound of soul and R&B music. It changed the sound of Motown. And then from that was in 70 set through 71. And then he drops, well, he puts two little things. He does Trouble Man soundtrack with Inner City Blues and all that on it. And then he does the duet with Diana Ross. And then after that, there was another album he was recording there that ultimately ended up coming out later, which is this album that you see right here, You're the Man, which is a great album if you didn't know. But he scrapped that album actually and jumped into Let's Get It On because he was transitioning from What's Going On to Let's Get It On. And if you listen to the album, it's like a good mix of both sounds because those two albums sound totally different. But I think the Let's Get It On album was a more cohesive album because it had a particular sound he was shooting for. And that album, Let's Get It On, is when he actually met Janice, which became his future wife, Janice Gaye, right? And that's where he met her recording that album. And most of that album and the following album, I Want You, was about Janice. So that's another little Easter egg if you didn't know that. The more I listened to the album Here, My Dear, Here, My Dear didn't sound like none of those albums. It was experimental in some regards. Rolling Stone magazine and all these other magazines have, and a lot of critics have went back and said, Here, My Dear is a masterpiece. It was something that was so ahead of its time for a person to pour their personal heart out and what they were going through in the music. And it was a court judgment. Is unprecedented at that time. And so anyways, it's heralded now as a classic. And the more I listened to it, the more I fell in love with this album. I found myself singing these songs over and over. And it's not a haunting album, but it's a beautiful album despite the messages in the album. But if you like Marvin Gaye, guess what? I just put out a Marvin Gaye mix. Is called Midnight Marvin, and it's all Marvin Gaye slow jams. And I started off with Here My Dear. So if you love Marvin Gaye and the slow jams, do me a favor. At the end of this video, you'll see a link for the mix. So if you want to hear the mix, click on the link. And I promise you, you won't be disappointed. I'll make sure that I put it right here at the end of the video, right? So, and if you like that Marvin Gaye mix, you'll see, go to my channel. I have a playlist of a whole bunch of different mixes that I've been uploading, and more to come in the future. But right now, I wanted to do this Marvin Gaye mix just for this. But yeah, after this album came out, like I said, it wasn't promoted because Marvin's feelings was hurt when people dogged the album. He refused to promote the album. It wasn't received well, and he said, I'm not promoting it. I'm going to move on. In order to promote this album, Motown ended up shooting a video for it, and you can find it on YouTube. The album reflects a lot of real emotions that people sometimes experience in divorce. I mean, if you live long enough and you've been through divorce, you know the pain that comes along with it, the uncertainty. Are you making the right decision? And the divorce settlement, a lot of men have to pay a lot of money when they get a divorce. And again, most men are pissed about having to break bread because they feel they've earned that money. So Marvin is no different than a lot of other men in those same shoes, right? If there's anything you feel that I missed in this video, please let me know in the comments. I really appreciate the support I've been getting so far. And I appreciate your comments. I appreciate you guys hipping me to new things that I didn't know. So until next time. This was Digging in the Crates with Andre Lamont Floyd, and this was Here My Dear by Marvin Gaye. I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know what's your favorite song off the album, right? One of my favorites is Everyone Needs Love and Sparrow. So those are my two favorites, but I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you enjoy the album. Until next time, peace.